Hey y'all, it's Sarah. I am playing with some Easter/spring crafts and wanted to see if you wanted to hang out and give it a try. This one I'm going to go really super simple with. We're going to be working on a bunny shape. I am going to try to make this a bunny shape that anyone can do, even if you don't have art skills or drawing skills. It's going to be very basic. And hopefully I'll get into doing some that are a little more complex for those of you that do maybe have a little drawing skill. I want to try to do a couple others, but I want to get started on this one because it's super simple and it really doesn't require a whole lot of materials. So let me go ahead and show you what I'm going to be using. First of all, you guys can see that I have my faux wood strips already in place. I'm going to be using 3 of these. These are made out of just Readiboard brand foam core or foam board, whatever you want to call this. If you don't recognize what this is something that you find right next to the poster board in your office supply section, your school supply section at a lot of retailers, places like Wal-mart, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. They all carry this brand, this particular brand. I tend to lean towards because this one here has a paper-like surface rather than that kind of laminated surface. The tutorials for how to paint these in the wood looks and to get a variety of wood grain coloring are always their own entity. I kind of keep those separate from the crafts themselves because it takes a little more detail to go into how to get the paint jobs on these. Really quick, I do want to point out while saying that, let me bring that back here. Let me bring my little sticker back. For those of you that don't know or have not seen, this is one of the first times I get to say this, but this video is sponsored by Readiboard. That's pretty exciting for me. If you have not guessed it, I go through a whole lot of this material just playing around. So I'm super excited to be able to say that. So thank you, Readiboard, for that. I want to jump into this. I think it's pretty cute. So let me show you a couple things that I'm going to be using. Aside from my couple of strips, now these are my typical size that you see me usually use. They're 3 by 30. You could go whatever size you want to. I'm not locked into that size. I got comfortable with that size because of the ruler that I use to cut them down. And I'll show you. I just use one like this and it's 3 inches wide. I got really comfortable with using this side and designing to this size. But always change it to, you can always cut it to whatever scale really works for the project that you're on. I'm going to be using a couple of scrap pieces. So I got my little scrap bin here. I'm going to be using these just to make my stand for this guy to stand up. A couple other pieces that I'm going to be using will be some kind of heart shape. I'm going to be using this wood one that I have already painted with some Waverly pink ballet slipper here. So I already painted one out. I've got it sitting to the side, but you could easily use these foam ones here or even cut out a faux wood looking nose from some of your foam core, any which way. I've also got this right here from Dollar Tree. This is their hair weaving set. If you notice, this is a fairly thick thread. You can see it pretty well even on video. I'm going to be using this for my whiskers. You could use anything. You could use jute, twine, whichever way you want to go rustic with this. A couple other things that you'll see me pull in is I'm either going to be doing one of these where it resembles the back of a bunny, so that I can put a cute little fluffy tail that I'm just going to make a pom-pom tail with yarn, so that I have a cute little fluffy bunny honey. And the other one, I'm going to be using ribbon and putting a nose and making it kind of be face forward. So really quick, let's jump in. And I want to show you how I got the shape for this. So the first step here that I did was I took my pieces, I got them aligned. I'll pull my ruler back out here. I got them aligned and I just used some Dollar Tree masking tape and kind of taped these guys together. So you can do this any which way, and I'm going to show you a couple ways. If you see me do some of the other shaped ones, I also typically do a backer with them. I don't know if I'm going to do that with this one, just because I wanted to show you an alternative to using a foam core backer. This one I feel like is going to stand up either which way, but we'll see. So I'm just making sure that these are, make sure they're squished together really nicely. I want a pretty tight fit so that my alignment kind of matches up. So there we go. I've got my pieces there in place. Now, to get my shape, I pretty much just kind of eyeballed it. And by that, I'm going to tell you what I did. Let me show you my one little guy. So let me see what my measurements are, because I'm using the full 30-inch length of this. And I can tell you exactly where I came down here. So my plate, the top of my plate here is around 7 3/4. So I almost did it in 1/3. I kind of wanted to have like a breakdown where he had a little more body than head and ears. You can play that out any which way you go. You could go wider with this and make him a fatter bunny. I wanted to keep this first guy really simple, especially for those that have not jumped in and tried any of these shaped pieces. They can be a little intimidating, but they don't have to be. So I came in, marked out my circle head. There we go. And you can see my plate pretty much goes from edge to edge. So that works out. Now, the next part, I brought my plate down just a little bit. And I marked again. I'm just going to use this and come up against this edge and kind of mark over to his shoulders. Slide it over to that edge a little bit. Mark over to his shoulders. So we already have a pretty bunny-like body there. And this is probably where it gets the trickiest. And I'm going to show you where I went with this. So my little strips are 3 inches wide. The center of that would be 1.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that 1.5 inches right there in the center so I can kind of eyeball this. And I essentially just freehanded from that center point down. I tried to align this where my ears ran right along that 3-inch board. If you can see. And I'm going to come around from this side. Let me mark out from side to side where I want this each ear to kind of hit down here. You can kind of see this is where I want my ears to hit there on the round part of his head. So I'm just giving this little bit of shape, and really the only part you're drawing in is right here. So I'm going to zoom in really quick. Try not to be too scary when I do it, but I want to zoom in so you can kind of see really all I did was add this little point. Okay, so you can kind of see there what I did. I would do the same thing here where this center point is going down. If you want to make sure that you're getting it super even, look on this side to where it hits this edge. Try to make sure that side hits that edge in the same place. Same thing here. Same thing here. And you pretty much have your bunny lined out. You can round off the little bit right here where his head would meet. I kind of came in a little bit and did that. And then right here where his head or his ears hit his head. Just a little kind of curve there. So really simple. That's all you got to do. Nothing hard. We're letting this strip and this strip do the work for our ears. Now that I've got that done, the hardest part here is going to be just to cut it out. So I get all kinds of questions on cutting these things out, and you use what's comfortable for you. I have found that I get the best luck with just a straight razor blade. That's me. I have tried with really nice craft knives, things like that. I didn't have the luck with those, But if you find something that works for you, use it. Okay, so I'm going to start right here where this ear is. I'm going to pop up here, flip that around. I'm going to come over here where this round part of the top of the head starts. And this one is super simple really to cut out because we let the strips themselves, these 3-inch strips, do really most of the work for us. So same thing here. I'm going to catch where I've got some of these little swoops. I'm using these Dollar Tree finger guard here, not to protect my finger from getting cut, but it allows me to really get a good grip, get some heavy pressure on here. For those of you that your fingertip can get sore holding just this straight blade, I definitely recommend trying these. So same thing, just catching those couple little swoops. I'm going to cut loose this tape so we can make sure that I got the head section cut really nicely. And that's going to pop right out of there. So I'm going to come here where I brought his little ears down. Swing around. Come down where I made that little swoop for the shoulders. And it feels like maybe I didn't get something cut straight in, so let me try that again. I just wanted to be able to make one that I felt like anybody could jump in and do and not panic. They don't necessarily have the art skills or the drawing skills. And I really feel like I want to add a little more swoop to my ear, so I'm going to swoop that in just a little further. There we go. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. So my little bunny is pretty much cut out, and I want to show you a couple things. First off, if you by chance didn't get like a super smooth cut, maybe you need to switch your blade out. If you didn't get a super smooth cut along your edges, you can take just one of the really fine Dollar Tree sanding blocks or anything that's fine to sand with. I like the sanding blocks because it keeps the edge really straight there and I'm not digging into any of my wood graining. But you can slide that across there really gently. You don't want to go too rough because it is paper. You will kind of destroy the paper in the foam. But you can knock off any maybe paper shreds that you have there along your edges, especially when you hit down in those creases. The other way, or the other thing that can help clean your edges up is typically we want to come in and paint these white edges to begin with. So I'm just going to come in with my sponge that I like to use to do the edges, my little kitchen sponge. I've got like a little piece cut down that makes it pretty easy for me to get down in these parts. And get my Waverly paint mix that I use to paint my bunny to begin with. Just going to get it down in those edges. You can see that kind of cleans that up really nicely. So you want to go ahead and do that probably at this point. If you're not going to be using another foam core backer, you can go ahead and do that at this point so that it has a chance to dry before you get ready to put your pretty little decorations on it. I have a tendency to get paint on my ribbon, so I want to get it on there and let it dry. But you can kind of see what that does. It just cleans up those edges, makes them look a little nicer, a little cleaner, a little more realistic. There you go. You can kind of see that. So once that part is done, this is where you can get really creative. You can come in with your little heart. This was my little wooden one that I got out of that Dollar Tree package. And Gonna kind of see where I might want to align that. That's already pretty stinking cute. I did want to show you something really quick. If you wanted to with some of your scraps, and I'm going to be using scraps to make my base here, but like this piece right here, if you wanted to add some more details, I cut just a smaller version of the ear shape here, so that if I really wanted to, I could come in and add some more layers to this. And really kind of add to the look if you wanted to. I wanted to show that idea so that, you know, maybe it'd give you something to think about and use up some of the little scrap pieces. I'm going to come in now with my thicker thread here. I think this would be totally cute. As a matter of fact, I have these that I think could be super cute also. And these are out of the Dollar Tree little wood ornaments that they sell. The little multi-packs of different wood ornaments. They always have like the little skinny ties in them. This is out of one of those packages because I usually use something else once I play with those. But this is like a perfect size for whiskers, I feel like. This came out of the package pretty much just like it is. I want to tell you guys something. If you're not aware with dealing with jute and the jute twine, if you take your twine, and you can see this one's kind of misshapen, if you squirt that down, and I'm just using water, you can squirt it down and reshape it. And once it dries, I do this with my tassels because I make the jute tassels for my own beaded garlands and stuff. And my tassels never want to lay right after they come out of the spool. And you can already see that that is shaping out straight. When it dries, it'll continue to be more on that straight side. So I think I'm just going to use these. I already had them down here in my little cart that I keep beside me. But this is also a valid option still. I think the black whiskers would be totally adorable. But I might as well use this. I don't want to touch this now that it's wet. I'm going to move it to the side. But I figured I have this. I might as well use it. You can kind of see where that's going. I'm going to just kind of find this center point here. And give myself a knot right in the center just to attach my little heart nose to. I'm hoping I can get that knot to lay fairly flat underneath my little heart nose. I'm also going to go ahead and take this little pre-sticky padded part off. I don't really need it, I don't think, to hold my nose in place. So there we go. There's some cute little simple whiskers. This is where you come in with the fun details. I'm just reaching over, grabbing some ribbon ideas. I am not sure yet. So I really don't know what ribbon I kind of want to use. I lean towards the buffalo check because, come on, it's buffalo check. We all love it. But I think I'm going to go just with something neutral for now, and I can always add to it later. I'm going to do really the most basic of bow tie look that I can. And that's just kind of swooping them over. I'm going to measure out and just snip this with my fabric scissors. This is a Dollar General ribbon that I'm using here. This one is a Dollar Tree one from Halloween. But I'm just going to take this guy, get kind of the center here. I'm just going to bunch it up and kind of see what I'm thinking about it right here. That is awful stinking cute, just as it is, without going too extreme, without going too extra. Although I'm still likely to go extra. I can't lie about that. But I'm going to go ahead and put my little nose on before I fling it off my desk somewhere. I'm just using regular Dollar Tree hot glue. to get my nose attached. Mind you, this looks like wood, but guys, I fear that this would not hold up well outside on a porch or a patio. It certainly would not survive down here in the humid South where I live. This stuff is so sensitive to moisture. But it gives you a good size little piece. I mean, this is a 30-inch tall rabbit. It's going to give me a good size little piece if I want to flank my front door from the inside, my fireplace, something like that. So I've got it glued down, and I kind of spread out my little whiskers there a little bit while the glue was still wet so that they don't cluster back together. Now that that has kind of sealed off on there, I can come in and put my cute little nose. You could put eyes too if you wanted to. I am opting not to put eyes. I feel like eyes can go a lot of different ways. Now, as a scrapbooker and a paper piecer, I'm pretty good with giving eyes realism, but sometimes eyes on projects like this can give me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I do get the heebie-jeebies. So I am just grabbing now just a zip tie. If you have not seen my bow making hack video, I am Southern. We use zip ties for everything. Guys, when I was pregnant and went in labor with one of my children, it was in the middle of the night, and my husband accidentally grabbed my brother's pants that had been around, and there was a size difference. So since he did not have a belt when we got to the hospital, he found a zip tie and zip tied his pants on. So I giggle to myself every single time I touch a zip tie to this day. So I'm just folding that kind of over and popping a little triangle cut into it to give that dovetail look. I kind of wanted to do this with a seersucker ribbon, but I was afraid that my bunny would start looking a little too much like Colonel Sanders. So I've got a good little bow started there. I'm going to snap this off. This bow, the reason I like using a zip tie is when I use chenille stems or even just ribbon to tie it in the center, and I go to tug on it really hard to try to get that fluffy, bulky shape that I like, I always end up seeming to pull it apart. When I do it with a zip tie, I can tug on this thing as much as I want to, and then I don't have to cut my ribbon or notch it there in the center. I can always snip this off and reuse this ribbon any which way I want to. And really simply, you can come in, pop a little piece down the center. And I'm just taking a little piece. I'm going to fold it in half. And I still may change this. I might put a flower, or my Dollar Tree has not got all their Easter stuff in yet. So if I see like something cute and Eastery, I still may come in and add something down the center of that. So I'm just going to pop a little glue over this down this center section and hide my zip tie for now. So this is what I have so far. And if you notice, I went a little wide on my loops. The reason I did that is my bunny has kind of he's got a wide neck. We didn't go super tapered in that. So I do want my bows to kind of expand across there a little bit and feel like they're going all the way across. You could easily wrap it all the way around if you really wanted to. The fun thing about this is that I'm just here to offer some ideas of jump starting, and then I hope that it gets your imagination all Twitter-pated and excited and active. And there is my bunny. That's as far as I'm going to go on this one. You get elaborate, go crazy with it. So now I'm going to bring in some of my scraps here. I've got scraps that typically these are what are left from my framing. Most of the time, these 1-inch ones. So I'm going to use a couple of those. Got a couple of these. I think this is going to be my base. It looks like it should be wide enough. And if you can tell where I'm going with this, I'm going to flank this front and back. This is why I said it wasn't necessary to put a backer on here. However, if this is not cool, if you want a finished piece, and I do happen to like finished pieces, I am using just plain poster board this time around. And I've got some just plain poster board. I'm just going to trim mine. I'm going to lay it on here, trim it out, and that's going to attach to the back of my bunny just to help stiffen it up. And then when I go to put my base on it, that is also going to stiffen it up. If you've seen me do this before, you've seen me set a finished piece on top of foam core, draw it out, and cut another solid backer for it. However, I wanted to try to find a way to keep this fairly simple. So I'm just going to use a little sheet of poster board. You could keep it like this. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys plan on trying to save these for the next Easter season. By then, you'll likely have other ideas that you'll want to try. But this is a good way to get support. You don't always have to use another piece of foam core as your backer, especially if you're wanting to keep it really light and easy to maneuver. But I'm going to go ahead and move that so I can show you how I plan on doing a base. So for me, I'm taking just these 1-inch scrap stems. Here are these scrap pieces here, these framing pieces. I'm going to mark them down and cut it down to the width of my piece. On both of them, because I'm going to do this front and back. I am going to take these two pieces, cut them down to size also, and I'm going to glue these together to make myself a more solid little bunny base. So here's what I'm talking about. I've cut these down now to fit the width of my piece. I'm going to come in with a whole lot of glue because I want this thing pretty solid. I want to get close to the edges. I want to basically turn this into kind of a solid little block. Guys, you could easily pop like a little cut of a triangle to the back of this. You don't have to put a stand at all. You can hang it on the wall. You can lean it up against things. So I have covered that pretty heavily with glue. I want to try to get it really squished together so that it becomes like one chunkier piece. You can see my edges now need a little bit of paint thrown on them. I'm just coming in with my same paint mixes that I use to get my wood grain. I'm going to hit these edges really nicely so that they start to look like one solid piece. You can kind of see there. This is why I tell you, can you see that little bit of white? This is why I tell you guys on your framing, do a little bit of that inner edge because it's hard to get it down in those gaps. You'll have to go in with a paintbrush a lot of times and get down in those gaps. Typically, what I mean is usually I'll come over a hair on the edge like that on both pieces so that you don't see any of that white when they push together. So I've got my little stand here. And I'm going to show you one of these rabbits. I can always go back in and alter mine. So when I go back in and alter mine, I'll alter mine and do my backing like I suggested. But because of time constraints, I'm skipping that step for myself so that I can show you guys where I'm going with my little stand. So essentially, I'm going to find a better side. Essentially, I'm going to take it and attach it just like you would if it was a real wood item. And I'm getting paint all over myself. One of the easier ways to do this, because it's very hard to glue along this thinner strip, that's why I went ahead and grabbed these little 1-inch ones so that I could thicken that up. So I'm going to come along this base, glue this down. These are almost, the foam core is almost a 1/4 of an inch So with the 3 sections of this layered out, once I get this back section on, you can see what a nice little base this is going to give us. So I've got to hold my bunny upright because I want to make sure that my little piece runs down flush there at the bottom. Same thing on this back side. So set it upright, push those pieces down so that they're flush with a flat surface. Make sure to push your edges flush. Now all we have to do is come in. Now we've got like this much thicker base area here to be able to glue that down to. Now, if you feel like it's not secure, Dollar Tree has those little tumbling tower block pieces, and my rabbit is bumping everything. They have those tumbling tower pieces that you can always pop back here along this base. And they're actual wood pieces, so that also gives you a little more security. And I grabbed a couple to show you what I was talking about. I don't have the Dollar Tree ones handy. I have just the real Jenga block style. But attaching it like this on the back, one, adds a little more weight to this and a little more stability if you feel like you need it. But this piece, keeping it like it is without a foam core backer, really honestly stays super light. And it should not be much of a problem. Typically, I just go in with a kind of a triangular shape and attach it off the back side, sort of like this, if you can see. Normally, I go pretty much that route because it's so simple and it's such an easy way, and I really can get some adjustment. But however works for the space that you're wanting to use these, or to get it to stand, and you really just don't even have to do it at all. You could totally prop this against something. I'm not going to glue this down just yet because I still need to be able to trace it to put my backside on, but I wanted to show you at least a basic to get started on some adorable little bunny crafts. I hope you like this guy. I can't wait. I'm going to do my other one with a fluffy tail, with a little pom-pom tail. So one looks like the front side of the bunny, and the other one is likely going to look like a bunny from behind, if you will. I think. I don't know. I feel like they're awful cute. They could be awful cute as a partner pairing. Also, you could put the bow tie here on one and put little bows up here by the ears on the other one and have a girl-boy bunny. But I'm just here to get the ideas to you and let you just rock and roll with them. I hope this gives you some ideas. I hope you get a chance to do a little crafting, and I hope to talk to you guys soon.